Hello, first year writing students. My name is Carolyn Jomso. I'm one of the librarians at the University of New Hampshire at Manchester Library, and I'm here in this screencast to talk to you about how to find background resources for your first year writing paper in Professor Jean Zipke's class. Once I go through the appropriate resources to use to find that background, you will be asked to fill out a worksheet that has you look at the different resources, look for information on your topic. Once you filled it out, you want to hold on to that to bring to class on Monday, or your professor, Professor Zipke, may ask you to hand it in. She will take a look at it and then bring it to class on Monday. On Monday, my colleague Rachel Blair-Vogt will be in class to conduct a workshop on finding appropriate resources for your paper. Now, on the screen in front of you, you have an online research guide for the class. This guide is your springboard into all of the resources you want to use for your paper. Now, in college, we are moving away from just using web resources, if that's what you're accustomed to using in high school. Those are the typical websites you might get through a Google search. Here at UNH Manchester, we provide access to literally hundreds of online encyclopedias and databases that have gone through a review process. These sources, unlike websites, are almost guaranteed to be from quality sources, as we will find out. That does not necessarily mean that you're not going to be assessing the information, and that's something else that Rachel Blair-Vogt will talk to you about on Monday, how to assess the information that you found and to look for things like bias and who the author is, whether the author is an expert. Okay. On this first page, as you can see, you have information on how to reach us at the library. As you can see, you can send us a text if you want to reach us that way. You can chat with us, you can email us, or give us a call right here. Do not hesitate, please, to ask a librarian for help at any step of your research process. That's what we're here to do. We're here to help you. Okay, so what I'm going to do for starters is get you into the background resources. Up at the top of the research guide, you'll see a series of tabs. The Home tab is where we are now. Research, where do I begin? Reference resources, books, and articles. This particular screencast is focusing on reference resources. Another screencast that you will be looking at later in class is going to talk about how to look for books using the library's catalog and how to look for articles. What I'd like you to do right now is follow me as I go to the reference resources. Now, reference resources are what we consider to be starter resources or beginning resources. Before you actually start doing the real heavy-duty research on your topic, whatever it is, looking for books, looking for magazine articles, newspaper articles, and journal articles, it helps to get some background and context, because without that background, the results that you get when you start looking for articles can really be overwhelming. Looking for background can also help you narrow down your topic. Sometimes students will have a topic in which they're interested, but it's too big to be able to cover in any meaningful way in, say, a 4 to 6 page paper. What these background resources can do is give you the context, but also help you find a way to focus that topic in a meaningful way. I'm going to focus today on CQ Researcher, which is a really wonderful online resource. As it says here, it provides in-depth coverage of current events. Opposing Viewpoints Resource Center, which does pretty much the same thing, and a reference source called Credo Reference, which is actually hundreds of reference books in one online source. So let's start with CQ Researcher. I'm clicking that link, and here I am in the screen for CQ Researcher. If you are doing research at home or at another remote site, at this point, when I clicked CQ Researcher before it brought up the main page, you would be asked to put in your UNH Blackboard ID and password. That's because this site is a subscription site. It is only available to UNH faculty, staff, and students. You cannot get any of this information through a typical web source. Okay, so what does CQ Researcher do? Basically, it is a publication that comes out both print and online. We have it online. It comes out once a week, and it covers a major issue in the news that week. So, for example, today or this week, the main topic that CQ Researcher is discussing is emerging infectious diseases, which is obviously a big issue given the Ebola epidemic. Other recent reports include robotic warfare, Central American gangs, and political polling. But let's say you have your topic for the class, and you want to see whether or not there is a CQ Researcher entry on that topic. So if, for example, I want to look up genetically modified foods because that's my topic, I'm interested in the controversy around that particular issue, I'd simply type it in the search box up here, click search, and I'm given a list of results. Pay close attention. Our CQ Researcher subscription includes entries going back, as you can see from number 2, as far as 1994. Obviously, that's not going to be the best entry for you. It's much too dated. We want this much more current one, August of 2012. We're going to click the link into genetically modified food, and I'm now in the entry in CQ Researcher for genetically modified food. Every issue of CQ Researcher provides me with similar information in the way that it is set up. I'm always going to be given an introduction, an overview, some background information. You can read the entire entry, or you can click forward or backward depending on what you're looking for. If you're interested in background information, here it is. And as you can see, it's giving a question for me. Should labels be required? Remember that you need to eventually write an argument paper in which you take a stance. This could be a focus point, a narrowed focus for that topic. Genetically modified food in and of itself is a very large topic. Part of what you're going to be asked to do in the worksheet that you're going to be doing in just a little while is look at the different sides of the issue. CQ Researcher is wonderful for giving you that information. Right over here you see a pro and a con. I'm clicking into that. Here's that question, should foods containing GM ingredients be labeled? We have one person over here, Gary Hirschberg, the chairman and founding partner of Just Label It. And also he is a co-founder of Stonyfield Farm. He's giving his particular point of view. On the other hand, you have Philip Nelson, president of the Illinois Farm Bureau, giving another point of view. Clearly, both of them have very strong opinions. They may be coming from a certain special interest. That's something that Rachel will be talking to you about as far as analyzing the bias of a particular source. And yet, this could be very good information for you to begin to understand what the major arguments are on the pro and the con side of this particular issue. CQ Researcher can be emailed to you right back up here. Email a link back to, and you can email the full report. You can print it. There are different ways that you can download it. So again, a very, very powerful source for getting that beginning information before you start going into the databases. The next source I want to show you is Opposing Viewpoints Resource Center. It's right here. And Opposing Viewpoints does something similar to CQ Researcher. I'm going to search in keyword for the same topic, genetically modified food. When I click search, it's going to go into an entry specifically on genetically modified food, so I can see their overview of the topic. And then what Opposing Viewpoints does is gather essays on both sides of the issue, and it puts them together in one spot. So for example, as you can see from some of the featured viewpoints, genetically engineered crops have had a positive impact, and I'm clicking in, on biodiversity. It indicates who the author is, that author's expertise, and then you have the entry that she wrote, or the essay that she wrote, explaining how GM crops can actually be a positive thing. That's one side of the issue. However, opposing viewpoints will also give you the other side. So here's one that appears to be the polar opposite. Genetically modified crops contribute to biodiversity loss. And now you see what those arguments are by this particular person, Denise Gertzberg. So as you can see, just like CQ Researcher, you're getting people with very strong opinions on one side or another. That's why we say that it's a beginning source. You want to sort of get your mind or your ideas around what the main issues are before then going into a little more depth by looking at magazine articles. You may have noticed that there actually are news sources and academic journals in opposing viewpoints. You can talk to your professor about whether or not you could use those as magazine and academic journal articles. Do keep in mind, however, that the focus of opposing viewpoints tends to be somebody in the later years of high school, say a high school senior. Your instructor will probably want you using the UNH databases to find more college level research. Heading back, I just have one more source that I would like to show you, again going back to the guide, and that is Credo Reference. It's an online encyclopedia, again through the UNH subscription, and once again I can type my topic, genetically modified food, and what I will get are entries on that topic from a variety of different encyclopedias. Genetically modified foods in the Hutchinson Unabridged Encyclopedia with Atlas and Weather Guide. I have genetically modified crops in the Atlas of Food. I have genetically modified foods in Culture Wars in America, an encyclopedia of issues, viewpoints, and voices. What you will find is that some of these, for example in this one, the Atlas of Food, which is relatively short, may just sort of give me a definition of what the crops are and how it's done. You might decide to go with this longer one, 1329 from Culture Wars, because that's going to get at the core of the controversy around GM foods. And again, this is a very brief entry. You may even find it useful to start here just to get the definitions and see the issues, and then go into CQ and into opposing to go in a little more depth. So these are the two or the three main sources that we wanted to show you. What you will find on your research guide, and I'm just going to sort of extend back to the research guide. What I might need to do is go back through the library for that, which is actually good. This is the library's main page. I'm clicking on research guides and first year writing to bring you back to the main page. We were on the reference resources link. Right here in starting the research process, you will find a link to a worksheet. I'm asking you to think about what you know about your topic already, what questions you have, and then I'm asking you to go into the three sources I just showed you, CQ, opposing viewpoints, and Credo Reference, and write some of that information down. What are the main arguments? Who are the main players? What are the issues? Feel free to use more paper than I've given you in that worksheet to put as much information as you can about the topic. Also, be sure to email that information to yourself or print it off, because you may want to hold on to that. Ask your instructor about whether or not these sources can be used in your paper in the Works Cited page. Once you've completed that workshop, I'm going to ask you to take a look at the next screencast, which is going to be looking at the next tabs, looking for books and looking for articles to get you going, getting a little more information for your paper. Thank you very much, and I will talk to you in the next screencast.